Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you all for joining us here this morning for a Scytec DataXchange webinar. The topic of this morning's webinar is effective data exchange messaging. Boost your manufacturing production with notification templates. So a little bit of a warning before we start off today's webinar. Today's webinar will cover a more advanced topic. It is recommended to have a basic understanding of data exchange's menus and also how data exchange collects and processes data. Please consult with Scytec, your data exchange reseller support, and also our help website at dxhelp.scytec.com. So you may already know this, but there are 3 different abilities to send notifications inside of Scytec DataXchange, and those are email, text, and Microsoft Teams. Messaging templates. So the practical use of messages and their notifications to receive notifications when a specific machine status, event, or predetermined threshold is reached, alerting you or other shop floor employees of that event. Messaging templates are universal and are triggered by default and or custom rules, allowing them to be dynamic and include information such as downtime details and equipment names. Now, this is where it gets a little bit advanced. So the way that our messaging templates inside of DataXchange work are based off of what we call internally as expressions. We will be discussing them to you as rules. So think of expressions as a rule. So an overview of expressions. The concept of expressions are rules that will trigger a result when a certain event, machine status, or threshold is reached. Expressions are a logic-based system that can be broken down into 2 parts. The expression itself is the logic, and then the second part of that is the result to trigger that notification, email template, text template, and Microsoft Teams template that will then reach your inbox. Expressions can do things like collecting a machine's current status, opening and closing of a work order, sending an email to a user or user group, and sending a message to IT when data exchange cannot reach a machine that is offline. There is a litany of pre-made notifications already inside of data exchange, and you can create endless expressions, and we will be there to help you out along the way to create your expressions. So what you're looking down there at the bottom is the expression builder that we have that I will kind of delve into here a little bit more in the next slide. But really kind of how you could think of these expressions are is like an equation that you would have seen back in like high school math. So a rundown of the expressions. These are a competitive differentiator for the data exchange machine monitoring product that other more rudimentary offerings do not provide. And the data exchange expressions provide more flexibility around the data collection and notification process, ensuring data is collected your way and the messaging is shown how you need to see it. As I mentioned earlier, data exchange can be configured to send an email, text, or Microsoft Teams notification messages based off of these expressions. The contents of expressions can be configured based on the needs of your environment. Messaging templates are created independently, assigned to a group of data exchange or Microsoft Teams users, and then associated with a configured expression. So when your expression evaluates to true, a message will be sent. And that could be something like when machine A has been in an unknown downtime for longer than 60 minutes, I want to get an email saying that the machine has been in that unknown downtime for longer than 60 minutes, alerting me to then go out to the shop floor and attend to that machine. So as I can't stress this enough, please reach out to Scytec or your Scytec DataXchange reseller for further assistance about this kind of stuff. And you can read more about expressions on the Scytec University website, dxhelp.scytec.com. So I'd like to go over here real quick, the user interface for the expression builder. In the top left corner, you can see the expression groups, and those are the machine types that you can associate with your configured expressions. And then going down below that, you can see the input area for the expression summary, as I kind of just went over with that description of a machine that had been in an unknown downtime. You can type that in there, and that'll be what is then populated at the top right corner where you see expression summary. And then underneath that, you can see the expression itself. As I mentioned, you can see that kind of equation of sorts. And then below that, you can see the target type. So that is where that expression will be sent once that threshold has been crossed. So our target for this is an email, and the messaging assignment is an excessive low override. So that expression that you are looking at there is supposed to email you when an excessive low override has been in that status for longer than 10 minutes. You will get that email alerting you of that shop floor event. Next, we will discuss use cases and examples for these notifications based off of your expressions. So you can have tier-based messaging. So let's say a machine has been in an unknown downtime for longer than 15 minutes. That will notify the operator of that machine. After 30 minutes, you can then have that email then go to a supervisor notifying the supervisor. After an hour, you could then have that email then go to a manager. And that is just some tier-based messaging, just the concept of it, how it can be applied to your shop floor. And then other notification example use cases, you can notify maintenance if an operator has an issue with the machine. You can notify certain users and user groups of an alarm type that has been activated. You can also notify when a machine's expected setup time has been exceeded. So if you have a machine that is, it's supposed to take a half hour to set up, after 31 minutes, that email will then go out alerting somebody that the expected setup time has been exceeded. And then also finally, another use case for notification examples would be when a machine is nearing and or out of material. Next, we will go up how to set up an email template for your notifications. And once you really kind of understand this process, it's very easy to transfer it to the other notification types, which are text and Microsoft Teams. But first, we're going to start out with the email template. So in the desktop version of DataXchange, which is only where you can do this, to access your email templates, you are going to want to go to the Manage tab, go to the Users form, and make sure that the appropriate users have a company email and or external email assigned, and then make sure that that status is enabled. So looking at the screenshot of the DataXchange user interface, we can see at the top left corner, that is the Manage tab. Underneath that and to the right, you have your users and user groups. We can see that Steve Smith has been selected. Steve Smith is one of the employees at our Denver plant, and he is in the ODI user for the user group. And if you look down at the bottom where the individual arrows are pointing to the company email, he has that filled out. He also has his external email filled out so that when he gets a notification, it will go to both of those emails as well. And I also want you to pay attention to the phone number that's filled out. That'll be important later for the text. And then make sure that that status is enabled, and then that notification for that email template will go out to whatever group memberships that you define, such as Steve. He is part of our ODI user group, but he could also be an administrator, whatever you select him as. Now, the email templates, just kind of to go through the process of where you can find these as well. On the DataXchange tab, go to the messaging templates form, create the email template, and we'll show you this here in the next slide. Templates are created by pressing the messaging template button in the template group on the DataXchange tab. To create a new template, press the add button and specify a name for the template. Once the cursor has been placed in the subject or the body sections, the button in the toolbar will become enabled, allowing the expression to be used along with the variables. Press the enter button to save the template. So this is your messaging template user interface. So at the top, you can see all the previously made messaging templates. You have the ability to add another, what you can see down there at the bottom, the ability to modify one. So if you wanted to make a change to that, or then to remove it as well, you can see those three options there in the middle. So when you click add down there at the bottom with that highlighted box, you can come up with the messaging template name, the subject that will be in the email that is then sent, and then the body that will contain that expression that you have determined as well. After you have come up with your email template, now you can then assign it to different users and user groups as well. So you see down there at the bottom that is highlighted, we have administrators. Once you click on your administrator, those two buttons right next to it, you can then have them into your selected users. You click enter, and that messaging template will then apply to all of those different user groups, users and user groups. So some of the other stuff that you can see there in the middle is stuff that is covered inside of the previous slide with the messaging template for the subject of the email that will go out, as well as the body of the expression in there as well. Now we will discuss the Microsoft Teams template setup. And as I mentioned earlier, once you kind of really get the process down for the first one being the email, it's very easy to transfer that knowledge into the other notification types, and the setup process is very similar. So you would then create the same template as before, but this time you can see down there with the highlighted messaging type, you would switch that from email to Microsoft Teams. And instead of the different user groups, you can have your teams channeled. And once you select the specific teams channels that you want, you can have them over there on the right side where the arrow is pointing to into your selected teams channels. And you click save, and then they will be sent to a Microsoft Teams channel when that threshold is crossed and that shop floor event happens. So when you're doing your expression building, you create the expression the same way as you would have done it previously. And then you can select a different target, which is then the Microsoft Teams selection that I have the arrow pointing to next to the target. Finally, we will discuss the text template setup. And this is very easy. You do it the same way as you would an email template, but you use your phone's text to email function, and every single carrier has one of these. So I'll go through the process first, but you go to the Manage tab, you select users, you make sure the appropriate users have their external email assigned as their mobile phone number and their at carrier.com. For example, Microsoft or Verizon's is 555-123-456 at vtex.com. Common carriers are listed below. So for like, if you have an AT&T phone, it would be your phone number at mms.att.net. That's what you would have as your external email and not your company email. And for Verizon, you would have your phone number at vtex.com, Sprint, your phone number at messaging.sprintpcs, or number at pm.sprint.com, so on and so forth. You can look this up. We also have this stuff on the Scytec University website. So what I mentioned earlier, when you have your phone number in there, do not get that mixed up with this for the process of having an email template sent to your phone number. So after you input your phone number in as the external email and have that set up the way that your carrier mandates it, you go to your messaging tab, assignments form, and then assign the users to the template. And then from the same tab, go to expressions, create your expression form, and then create the expression that will trigger the email. And then for the target, you will select email. Even though you might think that it would be text, it's still email, but you have it sent to the text to email function that I just described. So one of the last things I will discuss that I feel are kind of in line with the messaging templates are our saved and scheduled charts function. Saved and scheduled charts are a somewhat new feature inside of DataXchange. I did a webinar on them about a year and a half ago. But saved and scheduled charts are a great tool where you can have your shop floors need to know historical data and metrics sent directly to your inbox. So you will know how your shop floor is performing and will allow you to act. The saved and scheduled charts can be found in the data display, mobile and browser-based reporting tools of DataXchange. And you can see down at the bottom, I have a screenshot of the Launchpad where you can find all of your saved charts. And some saved and scheduled chart use cases could be some very easy things like part counts to ensure quotas are being met for personnel not even in the plant. Timeline. So we'll say at 7:30 every morning you have a production meeting and you'd like to be prepared for that production meeting. So you can have a scheduled chart sent to you on a recurring basis so that every production meeting you go into it with like the previous day, weeks, quarter, whatever metrics for your shop floor equipment ready to go so that you have some things to speak about during your production meeting. And then also you can just have, just an equipment status summary sent to you on a recurring basis, which can help you know which one of your operators or any of your equipment that need any sort of focus or that are having trouble. So how to go about doing a save chart is very easy. You do the normal filtering that you would normally do inside of data display by selecting the shift groups, the shifts, the start time and date, and then as well as the available equipment that you have in different plants. So if you look at that screenshot at number 1, you can see that we have a bunch of equipment from our Denver plant selected. And then at the very bottom of that filtering page, you can see the ability to save that chart. You can give it a title, you can give it a description, and then some assignments for what users and user groups get that chart. And then once you click save, that saved chart will populate on the data display launchpad under the save charts area. And to schedule that chart to have it sent on a reoccurring basis, you will then click on that save chart. And so, for example, we have an equipment status summary from yesterday. So you will click on that chart that you see inside the save chart. And then at the very bottom of the filtering options that you can only find as a saved chart, you can't do this under a normal chart. At the top of the launch pad, you will see options to have that chart sent on a recurring basis. So you have to make sure that first, if you look at that image, that the status has been set to enabled. The company group recipients, the different user groups are selected. The time frame of when this gets sent out, so which days and then at what time, as well as the resolution. And then once you hit save, that chart should be set up and ready to go to then be sent to you on a recurring basis. Finally, just once again, would like to point out the dxhelp.scytec.com. This will help you go over some of the expressions that we covered in the messaging templates, how they work, how you can kind of learn more about them. We also have our support here at Scytec that you can reach out to if you have any issues with some of the stuff that we covered here today or need some help coming up with your own configured expressions. And then also please reach out to your reseller as well. We have some upcoming webinars next month. It is still to be determined, but we are going to have a webinar with CG Tech about the latest release of Vericut 9.5 and the CNC Machine Connect integration between Scytec DataXchange and CG Tech Vericut. The final little bit of the 3-part release that started in 9.5 Vericut with pre-check, and then 9.4 with CNC machine monitoring. And then finally with 9.5, we had the post-check release at the end of June last month. So we are going to be covering all that. We're going to be having some of the product specialists from Vericut on as well, talking about the really the full suite of CNC machine connectivity. And for those of you that we might meet and see out at IMTS, or for some newer DataXchange users at the end of September, we are going to have a kind of basic DataXchange getting started overview with machine monitoring and how everything inside that works. So we hope you can attend those.